is, as you already know, something big is about to hit the U.S. and we've got to be prepared. In fact, without what I'm about to show you, you may not survive. That's why I made this short video. In the next few minutes, you're going to learn which food item will fly off the shelf first. When you find out what it is, it's obvious you can't survive without it. And I'll tell you exactly where to get it before the general public does and how to store it securely, along with how to practically smell a disaster coming and lock down your supplies or get anything you're low on before the mob goes crazy. Not to mention how to keep your family from being attacked, robbed, or even noticed by buying these items before they're on the radar. So stop what you're doing, close all your other tabs and windows, and grab something to write with. This video is going to blow the whole conspiracy wide open, and you don't want to miss a crucial detail because you were on Facebook. Now, let me introduce myself. My name is Damian Campbell, and I want to talk to you about the coming disaster and how to survive it without ever going hungry. With the shaky state liberals have put our country in, our food supply is in a dangerous place. The fact of the matter is, any disaster, big or small, could force you to go weeks without food. See, without the essentials, food and water, you may not survive. And there's going to be no way to get these crucial food items when a crisis hits, or when the news even smells a crisis for that matter. Think about it. How would you survive a terrorist attack that caused widespread panic and shut down all shops and stores in your area? Would you be forced to beg neighbors for food or be shipped off to FEMA camps? Could you and your family survive hurricanes or snowstorms that whip your neighbors into a panic-buying frenzy, grabbing any and everything they can get their hands on? What if the stores weren't restocked for weeks? What would you do if your home was hit by floods, washing out roads and making it impossible for stores to supply food for the coming days and months? Would you survive? And how would you deal with protesting labor unions holding your food hostage? Would your kids go hungry? The sad part is, people don't think any of these very real disasters will ever happen, or at least won't happen to them. In fact, maybe that's what you're thinking. Well, my friend, history says otherwise. Remember these recent disasters that cost thousands of lives? In 2011, after the Tohoku tsunami in Japan, over 300,000 people were evacuated to emergency government camps. Let me tell you, those camps weren't pretty. As sad as it is, some of the refugees died there. In the meantime, survivors lined up for blocks outside of 7-Elevens and grocery stores for a scrap of food. And in 2004, the Indian Ocean tsunami wiped out shops, stores, and food supply routes for hundreds of thousands of people, not to mention killed 230,000 or more. And if you think the U.S. government, FEMA, and local authorities are going to respond any better when disasters hit the U.S., take a second and think back to Hurricane Katrina. When Katrina hit in 2005, stores closed, looters ran wild, and every day, hardworking people were forced into FEMA, quote, relief camps. Fast forward to the 2010 Haitian earthquake, followed by the massive Chilean earthquake where more than 316,000 people were killed. Survivors are still struggling to reestablish consistent access to food. And on top of that, every year the U.S. is hit by a deadly mix of disasters. Tornadoes touch down in the southeast. Blizzards dump piles of snow in the northwest. Severe droughts drain the central U.S. Wildfires blaze in California. Earthquakes rock the west. And floods cause millions of dollars worth of damage everywhere. In fact, FEMA states that every American lives in a flood zone. The only difference is if you're in a low, medium, or high-risk area. So now that we're being honest about what can happen, here are the two options you and all of us as Americans have. Option 1, you can put all your hopes for survival in the government and FEMA, or Option 2, you can take survival into your own hands. Please believe me when I say, as your brother in arms, I want to help you and your family survive any way I can. That in mind, you need to know, this could be the most important video of your life, so keep watching. Trust me, it's the video you don't want to miss. As the author of the top-selling Survive Anything guide, I've done my homework, and what I found was pretty scary. Strangely enough, the weird secrets I discovered are mostly common sense. Any 5-year-old can tell you, without food and water, you're in trouble. A human can die a few hours after dehydration, especially if they're doing anything physical, like running from a mob or fighting off an attacker. And life without food means a slow and painful death, starting with confusion and diarrhea and ending with spine-racking seizures and hallucinations from hell. It's not fun to think about, but even if a crisis lasts just a few weeks, it can be deadly to you and your family if you're not prepared. But it's even worse for people who think they've got plenty of food and are ready for anything. The truth is, if you buy the wrong food items, you'd have been better off buying nothing at all. You probably can't imagine how crushing it is when your kids realize their dad was wrong and your wife feels like you failed to protect the family, even if they'd never say it. Now, I don't know you from Adam, but as my fellow patriot, I don't want this to happen to you or your family, and I'm sure you don't either.